Hey there. I am Barb Sobel. I'm a clinical nutritionist here at MenoWell, and today I'm going to be hosting the MenoWell Live for Julie. The MenoLounge, and I have a really special guest today, Beth Safrit from Balance Marin, and I'm going to try and invite her in right now so we can get started. So bear with me. Let's see. Hold on, I'm still looking for Beth. I'm a little new to this. Beth, are you there? Here she comes. Hi,
Hi.
how are you?
Good. Technology.
I know, I feel like I've had a hot flash just trying to get this to work, and I don't even get those anymore.
I was just like, oh my gosh, I've never done one of these before, and I'm super excited. So I can't believe it's actually working. This is
So
great.
welcome. I know, I
I
know.
know.
Yeah. So let me properly introduce you, and I'm so excited to get started. So this is Beth Safrit. Did I say it right?
Perfect.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Beth has a 30-year career in advancing women's health. She is a women's health nurse practitioner, has been one for the last 25 years. She has worked coast to coast, collaborating with everyone from Planned Parenthood, fertility clinics, general gynecology practices. And before that, she was a labor and delivery nurse. She's really seen and witnessed the unique challenges that women face with their health from the very beginning all the way through midlife, and especially in midlife where really women's healthcare has been lacking. So she's been inspired to make a difference and partnered with a longtime colleague to launch Balance, Women's Health and Wellness of Marin, and it's a boutique practice style to really give personalized, exceptional care for women. And Beth is an expert on hormones and perimenopause, menopause transition. And I'm so glad to have you here today because I feel like there's so much happening. And
hmm
in the last like 2 or 3 weeks, I'm excited to have an expert to talk to and ask some questions and get some real information.
Great. Well, thank you so much for that introduction. It makes me happy.
You're welcome. Well, thank you for all of your hard
Well,
work.
I mean, and
Yeah.
really, there's been so much happening in the last like 24 hours.
I know. Okay, so just kind of the things I'm thinking about, you can fill me in.
Yeah.
The Menopause Society had their annual meeting a couple weeks ago, like a
Yep.
week or two ago,
In October.
in
Yes.
October, right? Sort of. So some interesting, great stuff for women, especially around perimenopause, came out that I would really like to talk about. And
Mm-hmm.
then yesterday, we learned that the FDA got rid of the black box warning
Yep.
on estrogen. So I'm really excited to talk to you about what does that really mean, and what does that mean for women and our health.
Well, so it's where to begin,
Yeah,
really.
let's start back. Okay,
Okay.
I was thinking about this because it's kind of overwhelming. Let's
Yeah.
start back with what's happened with some of this stuff around perimenopause at the Menopause Society, and then let's work up
Perfect.
to menopause. And, I've really been thinking about my own perimenopause journey, which was, quite a while ago. But some of the things I realized is I had no idea what some of the perimenopause symptoms were really early on. I was just like a lot of people told, oh, you're just, you have a young family, you're working, you're busy.
Yes.
That's your problem. You just, it'll get better eventually. And the only kind of thing I was told to do was track my period, which was totally regular. But now when I look back, I had all these symptoms that were just they were considered life symptoms for women, in their 40s, but even in my late 30s. And I never, ever learned that was perimenopause time.
I mean, some of like what we see a lot in practice is women in their, like you said, late 30s, early 40s that come in with mood symptoms, a lot of anxiety, a lot of fatigue, a lot of sleep issues, and they go to their primary care, they run all these tests and they're all fine. And then they're just like, oh, like you said, it's just you're a young family, you have a young family, you're working full time. It's just like this part of life and it'll get better. Um, More women are put on antidepressants in their 40s than any other time in their life because they come to their primary care for mood, anxiety, panic attacks.
Yeah.
And it's really a disservice. Like we know this is all related to your hormones changing and lowering a little bit, even though if you do all your hormone labs, they're all going to usually be normal.
Yeah.
One of my experiences, I was probably mid 40s and I was waking up with really pain in my eyes every night. They were painful.
Oh,
And
wow.
of course, I go straight to like, I must have a tumor.
Yeah.
Something's definitely wrong with me. So I go to the ophthalmologist and I'm like, I wake up every night with pain in my eyes and it's so painful. And of course, they do all these exams and they're like, oh, you have dry eyes. Here is a prescription for eye drops. So I started doing eye drops every night, going to the pharmacy, getting these eye drops, and it's perimenopause. We know
Wow.
now that
Yeah.
we know estrogen is in every organ system, from the brain to the eyes to the skin to the gut, everywhere. And
Yeah. Even in our joints, right?
in our
Because I
joints,
mean,
like
I
there was this,
remember, as a runner, I got injured in my early 40s. Everyone I knew was getting injured
Mhm.
in their 40s, right?
Yeah, yeah. And there was a study that came out of Duke that is orthopedic um, study that there was all these women in their 40s that were getting frozen shoulder, and they realized that actually that was from lack of estrogen.
Wow.
I know. So
Okay,
it's
so now what do we do with this? Because who do we talk to? Like you went to the eye doctor
I went to the eye
and
doctor. Yeah,
the eye doctor did what an eye doctor does. They
right.
said you have,
Like
right?
like
You
oh, you
have,
don't have a tumor, you just have dry eye, so it's
right,
okay.
which is good to know and something reasonable to do, right? But how do we know to even look for these symptoms and track them with perimenopause? It's like it's a whole new world of that.
It's a whole new world, and I really think, I mean, my colleague and I are actually talking to some primary care groups in December because that's usually where patients either they come to their GYN because that's who they've seen in their reproductive years most of
Right.
all, or they're going to their primary care. And so the more knowledgeable, and we can disseminate this information for providers to really dive in because it's not women aren't crazy, it's not just this time in your life, um, and we need to really focus on hormones, and that's where this whole preventative what at the menopause society it's this preventative care that we can try to do for women so they never have to go through what I had to or you had to. They can just literally be put on hormone replacement early on, stay through it, and now there's really no end point for
Yeah.
hormone replacement
So
as there
how
used to be.
okay, so in your early 40s, late 30s, early 40s, you're still wanting to, have birth control issues and you can go
Mhm.
on hormone replacement. Like tell me a little bit about
So
like
there's
how
two different
early and yeah, what's
yeah.
the difference and how do they play together?
So this is where it's always a little gray. When you're in your 40s, you're definitely still ovulating, you could still get pregnant.
Right.
Um, a lot of women, there's two different ways we do it. We can either like put you on birth control pills, a birth control patch, a birth control ring that will just stabilize your hormones. Um, and a lot of women stay on that until their average age of menopause is, which is 51, and then we might transition you to hormone replacement. It's protecting your heart, your bones, your brain, all the stuff. Or some women will do a Mirena IUD,
Mm-hmm.
which is just a local effect for the birth control, and then we can add an estrogen and dial it up as needed in the dosing. Or we also have women that might use condoms, but then we'll just give them a little bit of estrogen. If they're still having regular cycles, we just have to give them maybe a little bit of estrogen patches and just know it's not keeping you from ovulating. Hormone replacement does not stop ovulation. It's not that high of a dose. Um, so that's major education point that we have to really
Yeah,
dive in and nail down, just to know that your hormone replacement is not birth control. It's
right.
managing and preventing and protecting your
Yeah.
health.
So tell me a little bit about the Menopause Society information that came out about treating younger women with HRT. And is that something new?
It's not new. I mean, we've been doing that for a while, but it's just, I think, starting to gain momentum.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
we're
like
we're
another tool in your
It's
toolbox.
just another tool, right? So we have women in our, in our 40s that we see all the time, and we just want to be proactive in their health. And the more we can be proactive and educate, and whether they want to go on it or not, it's fine. But I just want everyone to know what your options are. And so you don't, one, I don't want you to feel bad. I want you to be strong and healthy and all of these things. But it's also really preventative for bones and for your heart, and
Yeah.
mostly probably for your brain too. The brain is still, there's more research, but we definitely know cardiovascular disease is prevented with estrogen. So that's why we see when women are going into menopause, um, our cardiovascular risk increases exponentially once we go into menopause because we've lost that estrogen. So if we can maintain our cardiovascular health with HRT, it's just going to make us live healthier.
So we can look at or you can, I can, look at some of the cluster of symptoms a woman
Yeah.
might be having in perimenopause,
Hmm.
realize they're in perimenopause, and maybe start estrogen therapy a little bit earlier as to help with those actual symptoms, but also as prevention.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's, what we see for women, maybe my mom's generation, um, they were the ones that got taken off the hormones
Right.
during that Women's Health Initiative study. And so that's a completely, and then probably the generation before, the women in their 60 now, 60s, 70s, they are a lost generation. They were done such a disservice. And now they're having osteoporosis. They have cardiovascular disease. They have dementia. And these could have all been, if they would have been sustained on it, um, it would have been a different outcome.
Yeah. So how do you deal with that? I mean, if you start a woman in perimenopause with hormone therapy and then she goes through menopause, would she need to adjust doses? Like, how do you
Yes.
deal with that?
Well, typically, we start low because you're in perimenopause, you still have hormones. They're just not working as well.
Right.
So
And
you,
they fluctuate a
and
lot.
they
So, yeah.
fluctuate with cycles. They fluctuate, especially like, right before your body's ready to have a period, it realizes you're not pregnant. So your hormones just totally fall apart. And
Yeah.
that's when a lot of women are symptomatic. And so we even can dial in and be like, okay, if your cycles are regular, you can just do an estrogen patch the week before your period just to kind of
Yeah.
keep you level. So there's so many ways to play with it. As and then as you get further along in perimenopause or closer to menopause, you're going to have more swings in your hormones, and that's when we are either upping the dose or we're continuing on it. You're just going to stay on it continuously. So it's really just a longer conversation and
Yeah.
with your provider, and someone that isn't afraid to play with it, because and also just like have a conversation with your patient. The more you guys talk about it and understand when her symptoms are happening and what her symptoms are, then you can adjust appropriately.
Okay, so when I went through perimenopause, I thought I was so cool because I had an app on my phone that I could track my cycle, right? And I could
Uh-huh.
see like, every 28 days. And then I could go backwards. I was like, oh yeah, I didn't feel so good few days before, or
Yep.
I could be like, oh yeah, it's coming. I'm great. It sounds like there's way more stuff we should be tracking, or younger women should be tracking to have this information so you can see how your body's changing. Like, what would you recommend? Like, when I have someone do a food journal, I want to know what their symptoms are. So if they get, you know, gas and bloating after they eat something, I don't want to just know what they ate. I want to know what symptom they got from what they ate. So what would you look for if someone who came in, like what's good data to bring in?
So good data is I mean, there's plenty of for menstrual apps now. A lot of people are using the Aura Ring.
Hmm.
Those are the two that I hear about the most, and there's so many different apps. It's hard to even tell you, but they're all basically do the same thing. And you can kind of see and especially with the Aura Ring, it gives you like your sleep, so you kind of know what your sleep is happening around your cycles, and that's super interesting. You can also tell me about what's happening with your nutrition with your gut around
Hmm.
these times, your mood. So if you can track some of these things, sleep, mood, gut, bowels, like whatever is happening, then we can kind of like dive in and finesse what's happening and just to kind of like make you feel better.
Yeah. So it sounds like the more information a woman could come in with, the better. Like
Yes.
you probably,
Yes.
if someone came in to you and said, "Oh yeah, I just got frozen shoulder," it sounds like, or I have dry eyes, even if it's not like
Hmm.
what we think of as a menopause symptom,
Right.
um, that would be really helpful in looking, setting
Totally.
the whole terrain for this.
Right. And that's what like when we see patients, we want like top to bottom, tell me everything. And a lot of times they don't even know what's what. So we
Yeah, 'cause most
will
people don't ask,
right,
right?
right. We'll
Yeah.
prompt them. So, how's your sleep? Like, how are your joints? What about your mood? Like, fatigue. I will prompt them, and either they're like yes, no, a little bit in between. But I think the more that we like have conversations and keep talking and talking, and I think women now are super empowered to like go to their provider because there's so much more data now, and social media is, I mean, really so beneficial that
Yeah.
I feel like the women in their 30s, 40s, and 50s are like, I'm coming for you. Like, I want to be helped, and I'm so excited for it.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. Okay, so we can track things, we can put together a picture for you. What else should we be doing, like proactively, as women?
Proactively, it's all, it's all about nutrition, and this is where you come in as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, but
Thank you for starting with that.
yeah, nutrition. So we know the increased protein, increased fiber, look at your gut health. Like I'm a big believer in probiotics.
Yeah.
And then strength training. I mean, we don't want to be our grandmothers that were feeble and osteoporotic and just, we don't want to have our quality of life like that in our 70s, 80s, and 90s. We want to be strong. So strength training, exercise, weight bearing, weights, heavy weights, and then I think sleep's super important.
Yeah.
Those are my top three.
Okay, great. Do you have any top tips for sleep? Because
Mm,
I always think that's a hard one.
I
Because
know.
some of the other things we can control really well, like we can pick what we're going to cook. We can pick where
Right.
our workout is, right? But it's hard with sleep,
Sleep
especially.
is hard. So we know hormone replacement can help sleep. The data shows that um, the progesterone, prometrium, up to even 300 milligrams a night, and the estrogen helps with sleep a
Hmm.
lot. Because if your sleep is disrupted because of night sweats, then we've got to nail that down. If your sleep is disrupted for other reasons, so it's really like really dialing in and like what are you having trouble falling asleep? Are you having trouble staying asleep? Is your bladder getting you up? Are you drinking alcohol at night? Like different things.
Yeah,
And then we can kind of curtail it that way. I also think magnesium glycinate, there's data to show that helps with sleep.
yeah,
Um,
I love that. I think it's really calming, and most of us
yeah,
are low in magnesium anyway, so it's a really
right,
good supplement. Yeah,
right.
yeah, and magnesium is good for your bones as well. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, there, there's so much more. Like, I think because of that study that kind of, I think, shelved women's health and information and research for a while, now so many things are moving forward with research that we're going to just learn more and more and more in the
yeah.
upcoming years. And
Like,
I'm
thank goodness, right? It's been such a dearth of information.
right, right. But
So
it's coming and it's being funded, and I'm excited to hear what
yeah,
everyone has to say.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's switch gears
Yes.
and
Okay.
go to what happened yesterday. with this black
Right.
box warning. Like, first tell us, what is a black box warning?
Okay.
And then let's talk about what really happened and what it means for women.
Okay, so black box warning is the FDA comes out and says there could be major harm if you do X, Y, or Z. But I just want to back up a little bit. The reason they started this black box warning for hormone replacement was all in relation to that women's health study.
Okay.
So that study said that women were going to die of cardiovascular disease, heart attack, stroke, or get breast cancer and dementia. So
If they used a
HRT.
hormone
If they use
synthetic,
hormone
right?
replacement therapy, this is what's going to happen. So they stopped the study, and the FDA then labeled all HRT with this black box warning.
Right. So do you
So
want to talk
that
about what hormones they actually used in that study? Because it
they
was different than what
use,
we're
and so
using
this
now.
is
Yeah.
different, right? What they used was synthetic. Um, Ethinyl estradiol, it was called Premarin at the time, and then they used Provera. These are both, which is the progesterone. These are both synthetics, and it was oral estrogen and oral progesterone. And so when they stopped the study in 2002, they added across all forms of estrogen and progesterone, no matter how it was given, what the dose was, what the route, it was all 100% black box. You're going to get heart attacks, strokes, breast cancer. So even for vaginal estrogen that just works in your vagina to help with dryness and prevent vaginitis, that was getting the black box warning too. So we'd have
Wow.
patients, we'd prescribe vaginal estrogen, and they'd call us up. It says I'm going to get a heart attack or a stroke or a breast cancer. And we're like, no,
Right.
it's
And so
not
that
equal.
that helps prevent UTIs, which is like
Yes.
considered like, old women's disease where you get put on antibiotics, you could be hospitalized over and over and over again. Right. It's
Right. And especially with UTIs, you can develop antibiotic resistance, you can get septic. So vaginal estrogen, every postmenopausal woman should be on
no
vaginal
matter your
estrogen.
age,
No
right?
matter your age, no matter any health disease, any comorbidity, anyone can take it. But then these patients were getting these warnings and would worry and not take it because they read the labels. And so this obviously went on for 23 years, up until they started piecing apart that Women's Health Initiative study, realizing that, actually the type of hormone that was given, which was the synthetic hormone, and the route it was given, oral estrogen, um, is what was more causing it. Where now we do bioidentical
Okay.
estrogen and progesterone.
Do you want to
Um,
explain what that means?
that just means it's the way the body actually was. It's made the same way the body already makes it in your system.
Okay.
Um, and it's mostly given. We really try to give transdermal or estrogen patches because the oral route can increase your risk of blood clots because the way it's metabolized. So if we give it in a patch form, it takes away all those risks. So there's no risk of blood clots. There's no minimal risk of stroke. And then with the breast cancer risk, and just to talk about the study had women that took the medicine and the women that didn't take the medicine. That's called
Okay.
placebo. So the women that took the medicine, well, let me back up. The women that did the placebo, there was 5 women out of 1,000 were still getting breast cancer every year, and that's just baseline. So the women that took the hormones, 6 women out of 1,000 were getting breast cancer. It was really just one extra person per 1,000, but
Yeah.
they took that and just exploded this into this media frenzy and like everyone's going to get breast cancer. But that was with all the synthetic stuff. Now with the bioidenticals, the data that's coming out now is saying that it's more breast neutral, meaning that it doesn't change
Oh,
your
wow.
risk. Not better,
Good.
not
Good.
worse, but it's about the
Yeah.
same as placebo. Um, so now as they're piecing apart all this women's health initiative, they're realizing that, oh, you know what, this wasn't actually right. So unfortunately, 20 years have passed. So 20 years of women didn't get hormones or they were very concerned about hormones. So now the FDA is retracting that statement and taking it off all of hormones. And they're taking it off that not an increased risk of heart disease, which is heart attack, stroke, not an increased risk of blood clots, and not an increased risk of breast cancer, and most likely not an increased risk of dementia. There's still lots of data there, but when we don't have 100%.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
Amazing. So, um, how many, I can't remember the statistics. I think it's like between 2 and 4% of women who are eligible for hormone replacement are not, are only, that's the percentage doing it.
Oh,
Um, I mean, and I can't remember where I saw that. It's very low. But I think that's a combination of women being scared and providers being scared, right? They see the
right.
black box warning as well. So how do you see this will change for women?
I
Um,
think this is going to be a huge, huge increase in women being less concerned because it's also like I have a lot of patients come in and it's like, oh, my mom, we have a family history of breast cancer, or my mom, where everything is like family history and we have to worry,
yeah.
worry. I'm like, I mean, there's only a couple groups that cannot do hormone replacement, and that is if you personally have had a history of breast cancer, or you have another history of some kind of hormone positive female cancer, which could have been uterine cancer or different things, but most of it's breast cancer. If you've had a heart attack, if you've had a stroke, um, but if you are that, and that's it. And
Wow.
most women that have had a stroke are probably already much older,
Yeah.
and we're seeing that there's this thing called the time hypothesis for when you're supposed to when is the best time to start hormone replacement, and that's usually when we know, and the reason I say this is so and it's all cardiovascular based. um, when we're having regular periods, our arteries and our vessels, everything is very clean and open and not struggling at all. When we start losing estrogen and going to menopause, we start building plaque in our arteries. Um, and that's because our hormones are decreasing. So this time hypothesis is if we can start HRT when everything is still good, then we maintain it. But if we decide to start HRT either 10 years after menopause or over that, or 60 or over, and the number of 60 is because the average age of menopause is around 50, 51, so they say 60. um, there's already been a lot of plaque buildup
Okay.
potentially, so then if we added HRT on after that, then there might be more of a risk compared to the benefits you might get.
But there's also for women a benefit with bones, possibly
Right,
brain, right? So,
right.
so is the thing is you need to have a provider that you really can work
Yes.
with that would assess your personal risk.
Yeah, and so that's the whole thing. Like, yeah, we know like your bones are starting to fall apart when you go into menopause, and there's only so much calcium and vitamin D and protein and strength training you can do. Nothing is going to replace that estrogen and that bone density.
Right.
Um, so my big thing is women should be getting bone density scans before 65. That's when Medicare covers it, but it doesn't make any sense. You could already have osteoporosis by then. I feel like
Well,
this.
especially if you went through menopause at 50,
Right,
right? Yeah.
right. So I feel like, we should be getting bone density scans earlier. And then like for women that, I mean, I have women that come into my clinic after age 60, and they're seeing all the social media and they're reading the data and they want to start HRT. So we talk about it, and it's not new, but it's something that I've just started adding to my practice. It's called the coronary calcium score.
Hmm.
This gives you whether you have any plaque buildup, and 0 means you have none. And then as your numbers increase, then it'll give you a percentage of how much plaque. Um, but if I have someone over 60 and they really want it because their mom died from complications from a hip fracture, from falling and osteoporosis, and their coronary calcium score is 0, and they don't have any comorbidities, then I'm
Yeah. So it's not
comfortable.
a no game.
It's
It's
not
really,
a no at
it's
all. It's
a what works for you. Yeah. And
right,
I
and
think,
you're weighing risks, and it's always risks and benefits.
right,
Like,
which I think you have to do with any medication in
oh,
general, right? There's always
100%.
side effects, right?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of side effects. There's more like risks associated. Most people just, well, if you're starting it for prevention, then you might not feel better. You're not going to feel much. Um,
But would you be able to track any labs over time? Like,
so
over
we,
time, I mean, bone density doesn't change very quickly.
right.
So that would take a long time. But certainly, I have a lot of people coming into me that are like early 60s, and they're like, the first time I've ever had high cholesterol, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, things like that, that you
That's
can
all
see in
related to
labor labs.
menopause.
Yeah.
Yeah. We see women's lipids increase during menopause, and everyone's like, I've been exercising, I eat the same, I do everything the same. What's just happened?
Yeah.
And it's menopause.
Yeah.
So and that's what we know. Your cardiovascular disease risk goes up with women as we go into menopause, and that's the number one killer of women is cardiovascular disease over everything else. So if we can do hormone replacement to maintain those clear vessels and keep our brain healthy and our bone healthy, I don't know. I'm really hoping. I hope all the pharmaceutical companies have have a lot in stock because I
I
think.
know, right, right, right. What happens if you take, like, can you take too much hormone replacement?
Um, so when we start people, it's like you don't want to start them off too high because I do feel like you probably could have some breast tenderness, some nausea, some headaches, like, you know,
Yeah.
all
So
those
you
kind of
would
things.
probably know if you had too
Yeah,
much.
you would
Yeah.
know. I mean, what we don't do a lot of checking labs unless you're on a pretty hefty dose, like one of the highest doses, and you still don't feel better.
Yeah.
Then I would be like, I wonder if you're not absorbing something correctly. So let's check your labs. And I've seen it happen a couple times where like, oh, we gotta change a different route. The patch, you're not absorbing with the patch. So let's
Yeah.
change it to a gel or something. And we do when we do testosterone replacement, we follow those labs
Okay.
because
Great.
we
Yeah.
we don't want you to end up with hair and acne
Yeah.
and who wants that? Yeah, all that
No,
stuff.
no, right, right. Um, okay, so I mean, I think, what has changed in this whole discussion is like menopause is not just a stopping of your period, right?
No.
I mean, it's kind of a benefit, but it affects every cell in our body.
Hmm.
And how, and really like prevention, being like checking in with yourself, when do you not feel right, how do you put together the best care team for you, like who do we go to? I mean, as you said,
So,
you're educating
yeah,
primary care, right?
yeah. I mean, so unfortunately, the medical system as it stands, if you go see your provider for your annual exam, you get like 15 minutes
Right.
or 20 minutes. And when you come to me, I'm a nurse practitioner at UCSF as well as have my own practice. But at UCSF, you get 20 minutes. And that's for me to do your pap test and your breast exam and everything. So, it takes you need someone that's going to have the time to give
Yeah.
to you and to hear everything that's going on and know what is going to be the best starting point for you.
Yeah, I mean, every woman is different, and I think everyone's individual, our lifestyle, our genetics, our preferences, how our body responds, it's all
Right.
different.
Right. I mean, it's not, there's no algorithm, there's no cookbook, there's no
Right.
recipe, which
Yeah.
is why you have to have someone that is basically going to take this journey with you
Yeah.
and listen and believe your symptoms. Because you could be having symptoms in your 30s and some providers are just going to not listen to that.
Right.
Um, so
Right.
I just you need to find someone that you trust and is up to date on all the literature and the data because and it's going to be evolving quickly. So it's important to find someone that is like on it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, how do you recommend someone does that? Like, I always think ask your friends, ask your
Yeah.
relatives, ask your provider if you already like them.
Yeah. So I mean, I have a practice,
Uh-huh.
and
I'm
my
glad too.
colleague and I, yeah, I mean, Balance Marin, and we give you all the time you need, and we give you our cell phone number, so we're always there to help you. But definitely ask your friends. Your gynecologist should be a good stopping point for sure, because it's it's everything is related to estrogen deprivation. But some people end up going to like the podiatrist,
Well,
because they're
yes.
having like plantar fasciitis, which is
Oh yeah, I have that.
hormones,
Yeah,
right? So I mean, it's like you just have to, unfortunately, at least for maybe for the short term, you're going to have to educate yourself too. I
hmm
feel like we have to be super proactive, because I'm not saying a podiatrist is going to think it's probably, how old are you? Or it's probably like, hormone changing.
right.
Um, but that's what's going on.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I think we do have to be really proactive. I think that's kind of a change in how we used to, kind of see medical. We used to think, oh, you walk in, the doctor takes care of you, but
I know.
it's
I know.
it's a little different now. We have to take care of ourselves, um, and ask
But I
questions.
love it. I love that
Oh, it's
we empower.
empowering.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love empowering ourselves. And
Yeah.
I think the more we can empower women and young women, the more we're just going to take over.
Yeah.
So,
And we're going to feel good. I mean, that's
yeah,
the number one thing, right?
yeah, we want to feel good, healthy, strong for the second half,
Yeah.
and we want to keep doing everything we're doing now for the next 20, 30 years. We don't want to have to back away from things that we love to do that make us strong and healthy.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Okay. So give us your like top couple 3 to 5 tips that you want to leave us with for,
Okay.
yeah.
Um, Start paying attention to everything,
Okay.
because I think the more you can gather data of yourself, then the more you're going to start recognizing patterns that you can then take to any provider. And whether you're 25, 30, 50, whatever, I think it's just going to like just benefit you. Really think you need to focus on your nutrition. So important. Um, and then, which is, like I said, the protein, the fiber, this, and then strength training, um, sleep, magnesium is great. I'd be on a probiotic and make sure you're on vitamin D.
Yeah.
Um, those are my top go-to. And then if you are struggling in any way, shape, or form, you need to talk to your gynecologist, your primary care. Come see us. Like, we're gonna make you feel better.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So
Yeah.
where can we find you?
So balancemarin.com is,
Okay.
we have a website, and then you can schedule an appointment. We see patients in person at Elevate Medi Spa, which is in Mill Valley, or we do telehealth. Either
Oh,
way.
great. Great.
Hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And do you know your Instagram? So people can
Balance dot Marin.
balance Marin. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you. I was
Awesome.
like, oof.
I know. I knew it. So I
I'm
was
like, oh
I was
God.
gonna come save you. I actually gave the Meno one wrong one time on
Oh no.
and it's up at the top of my thing.
It was
It's
so
my
funny.
MenoWell, yeah. Well, thank you so much, Beth. This
Barb,
has been
thank you.
so informative.
I
I hope you
I
can have me
really
back. Yeah.
I would love it, and I really appreciate you interviewing me. It's been fun.
It's been really fun. I was so excited because there's such a big announcement yesterday,
Oh,
and
I
I
know.
wanted to talk to an expert about it. I mean, it's like game changing, right? This has been a long time in the
It's
making.
it's been a long time. I'm glad it's finally come to fruition. For the past 20 plus years, it's been a little bit of a bummer for people, but hopefully
Yeah.
things are changing, the momentum is changing, and we're all going to feel better.
Yay. That's the goal. All
Yeah.
right. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for joining us,
Thanks, Barb.
and we'll talk soon.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.